My ex-husband texted from our daughter's phone. You have 5 hours before we disappear forever. I'm a custody lawyer. I've seen how this ends. The courthouse smelled like old wood and anxiety. Rachel Torres stood at the plaintiff's table, closing arguments ready. 15 years as a family law attorney had taught her to read judges, and Judge Jones was leaning her way. Her client, Susan Park, sat trembling beside her. Single mother, dental hygienist. Ex-husband had threatened to take their son to South Korea last month. Rachel had blocked it with an emergency custody order. Today was the final hearing. Rachel kept her voice steady as she addressed the court. Your Honor, the evidence is clear. Mr. Park purchased one-way tickets to Seoul, withdrew $40,000 in cash, told his employer he was quitting. These are not the actions of a parent planning a vacation. These are the actions of a parent planning to disappear. Judge Jones nodded slowly. The ruling came swift, full custody to the mother. Father's visitation supervised only. Passport surrendered to the court. Susan Park collapsed in tears of relief. Rachel packed her briefcase, professional smile in place. Another family saved. Another child protected from a parent who loved them enough to steal them. She checked her phone. 2:15 p.m. 3 missed calls from an unknown number. One text message from Mia's phone. Rachel's daughter, 9 years old, should be in school right now. She opened the text, her vision tunneled. The photo showed Mia standing in an airport terminal. Logan Airport. Rachel recognized the blue and white signs. Mia held a small pink backpack. Her face looked scared. The message below read, I told you I would never let the courts decide my daughter's future. You have 5 hours, then we are gone forever. The custody battle is over. Rachel's hands started shaking. She called Derek, her ex-husband, Mia's father, straight to voicemail. She called Mia's phone, also voicemail. She was still standing in the courtroom. Judge Jones had left. Susan Park was gone. The bailiff was straightening chairs. Rachel ran. Her car was in the courthouse parking garage. She drove toward Logan Airport, fingers white on the steering wheel. Called Logan security while driving. There is a man trying to take my daughter out of the country. His name is Derek Morneau. 9-year-old girl, Mia Morneau. They are there right now. The security operator sounded bored. Ma'am, do you have a flight number? An airline? No, but do you have confirmation he is currently at Logan Airport? I have a photo. He sent me a photo. Ma'am, Logan has 4 terminals and dozens of airlines. Without specific information, we cannot locate passengers. If you believe this is a custodial interference situation, you should contact police. Rachel hung up and called 911, explained the situation to the dispatcher. The dispatcher's response made Rachel's stomach drop. Ma'am, does the father have custody rights? He has primary custody, yes, but then this is a civil matter, not a criminal matter. Unless you have proof he is endangering the child, we cannot intervene in a custody dispute. He is trying to take her out of the country permanently. Has he stated that explicitly? Rachel looked at the text again. 5 hours. Then we are gone forever. Yes, he said they are leaving forever. I will send an officer to take a report. But without evidence of immediate danger, we cannot stop a custodial parent from traveling with their child. Rachel ended the call, pulled over on the side of the highway, tried to think like a lawyer instead of a terrified mother. Derek had primary custody. She had Mia every other weekend. The judge had ruled 6 months ago that Rachel's 70-hour work weeks made her unavailable. The irony burned. She had just saved Susan Park from exactly this situation, but she could not save herself. She thought about Thomas Brennan, client from 3 years ago. Wife had taken their twin daughters to Brazil during a custody dispute. Told Thomas she was visiting family for 2 weeks, never came back. Rachel had helped Thomas file emergency motions, international custody warrants, appeals to the State Department. Nothing worked. Brazil did not extradite for parental kidnapping. Thomas's daughters were 10 and 8 now, living somewhere in Sao Paulo. He got 1 photo per year. Rachel had promised Thomas they would get his girls back. She had failed. Now she understood how he felt. She pulled up the photo again, studied it carefully, the signs behind Mia, the gate numbers, the terminal layout. Wait, this was not Logan Airport. The color scheme was wrong. The gate numbering system was different. She zoomed in on a sign partially visible behind Mia's shoulder. Warwick Regional Airport, much smaller facility, 40 minutes south of Providence, primarily served charter flights and private planes. Minimal security, minimal oversight, perfect for someone trying to leave the country quietly. Rachel checked the time. 2:50 p.m. 4 hours and 25 minutes remaining. She merged back onto the highway heading south toward Warwick. Her phone rang. Unknown number, she answered. Derek, please. Whatever you are planning, we can work this out. It was not Derek. A woman's voice, professional and cold. Miss Torres, this is Amanda Jones from Mitchell and Associates. We represent Derek Morno. I am calling to inform you that any further harassment of my client or interference with his parental rights will result in legal action. All future communication must go through this office. The call ended. Rachel's hands tightened on the wheel. Derek had lawyered up, which meant he had been planning this. She thought about the past 6 months. Derek's behavior after losing the custody appeal. He had been too calm, too accepting. She had thought he was finally moving on. He had been preparing. The highway stretched ahead, 40 minutes to Warwick Regional. 4 hours and 23 minutes until Derek and Mia disappeared forever. Rachel pressed the accelerator harder. She had spent 15 years telling desperate parents that the system would protect them. Now she knew the truth. The system protected procedure, not children. She was on her own, and the clock was ticking. ACT-2, the first obstacles. Rachel arrived at Warwick Regional Airport at 3:20 p.m. The parking lot was half empty. Small regional facility, 2 gates visible through the windows. She ran inside, scanned the terminal, families waiting. Business travelers on phones. No Derek, no Mia. She approached the ticket counter. I am looking for my daughter, 9 years old. Pink backpack, she is with her father. They might be checking in for an international flight. The agent looked sympathetic but unhelpful. Ma'am, I need a flight number or passenger name to access records. Derek Morno or Mia Morno. The agent typed, checked the screen. I don't see anyone by that name on today's manifest. Rachel felt panic rising. Can you check private charters, corporate flights? Those are handled by a separate company, different terminal area. But I cannot access their passenger lists without authorization. Rachel walked away, pulling out her phone, called Edward Jones. Edward was a private investigator, also the husband of Susan Park, the client Rachel had just helped that morning. Former Rhode Island State Police detective turned PI. Edward answered on the first ring. Rachel, what's wrong? She explained quickly. The text message, the airport, the 5-hour deadline. Edward's voice went sharp and focused. Where are you now? Warwick Regional, but he is not here or I cannot find him. Stay there. I am 20 minutes out. Do not do anything until I arrive. Rachel paced the terminal, checked her phone obsessively. 3:32 p.m. 3 hours and 43 minutes remaining. She pulled up the photo again, studied every detail. Mia's expression, the background, the angle of the shot. Was Mia even at an airport? Could Derek have staged the photo somewhere else? No. The signs were real, the gate numbers authentic. Edward arrived at 3:45 p.m., carrying a laptop bag and a worn leather notebook. He sat Rachel down in a quiet corner of the terminal. Walk me through everything, from the beginning. Rachel showed him the text, the photo, explained about Derek's lawyer calling. Edward made notes. When did Derek get primary custody? 6 months ago. Any unusual behavior since then? Rachel thought back. He was calm about it. Almost too calm. I thought he was being mature, trying to co-parent effectively. He was planning this. Edward opened his laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard. I am checking his financials, credit cards, bank accounts, phone records. Can you do that legally? Edward gave her a look. Do you want legal or do you want your daughter? Rachel nodded. Do what you need to do. 5 minutes later, Edward whistled low. Your ex has been busy. 3 large cash withdrawals over the past month. 10,000, 15,000, 12,000, total of $37,000 in cash. For what? Edward kept typing. His apartment lease, broken yesterday. Paid early termination penalty of $3,000. Where is he living? That is what I am trying to figure out. Wait. Storage unit rental. He opened a new unit at Providence Self-Storage 3 days ago. Previous unit at Ocean State Storage was closed out same day. He moved everything. Edward nodded. And there is more. I am cross-referencing similar cases in Rhode Island. Parents who fled with children during custody disputes. How many? 3 in the past 5 years. Thomas Brennan, 2022, fled to Brazil with twin daughters, never found. Rachel closed her eyes. I represented his wife. Edward continued. Linda Morrison, 2023. Ex-husband took their son to Mexico. She tracked him to Tijuana, but Mexican authorities would not help. No extradition treaty for custodial interference. And the third, David Jones, 2024, my cousin, took his daughter to the Philippines last year. She is 8 now. I get 1 photo per month, that is all. Edward's voice had gone flat. Professional mask slipping. I am sorry, Rachel said quietly. Edward shook his head. That is why I am helping you. I could not stop David, but maybe I can stop Derek. He turned the laptop toward Rachel. I found the pattern. All 3 cases used the same method. Small regional airport, charter flights, minimal security, and all 3 bought their fake identity documents from the same source. Who? Victor Reyes, career criminal. Specializes in identity fraud. Provides complete documentation packages, passports, birth certificates, social security cards. Costs about $40,000 for 2 people. That matches Derek's cash withdrawals. Exactly. And Reyes has a known method. He uses names of recently deceased people. Someone who died within the past year. Someone whose death certificate has not been widely circulated yet. He creates documents for the client using the dead person's identity. How do we find Reyes? We do not need to find him. We need to figure out which identity Derek bought. Edward pulled up a database. Started cross-referencing names. Men who died in Rhode Island or Massachusetts in the past year, ages 35 to 45, with daughters aged 8 to 10. The list was long, over 300 names. This will take hours, Rachel said. We do not have hours. Edward frowned at the screen. Wait, the pattern. All 3 previous cases fled to countries with no extradition treaty for parental kidnapping. Brazil, Mexico, Philippines, right. So where would Derek go? Rachel thought about Derek, his personality, his preferences. He spoke some Spanish, had traveled to Central America before they married, Panama. She said it with certainty. No extradition treaty, banking privacy laws. Large expat community, easy to disappear. Edward nodded. That narrows it. Flights to Panama from Warwick Regional. Let me check charter companies. He made 3 phone calls. Asked about flights to Panama, departures today. 3rd call got a hit. Edward's expression changed. There is a charter flight departing at 7:15 p.m. tonight. Destination Panama City. Passenger names are not released without a warrant, but the flight was booked 3 weeks ago. That is it. That is Derek's flight. For 10 p.m. 3 hours and 5 minutes remaining. Rachel stood up. We need to stop that flight. Edward grabbed her arm. Wait, we need proof. If we go to authorities without evidence, they will dismiss us. We need something concrete. What do you suggest? The storage unit. If Derek moved his stuff 3 days ago, maybe he left something behind. Paperwork. Flight confirmations, something we can use. Rachel checked the address Edward had found. Providence Self-Storage, 20 minutes away. Let's go. They were halfway to the parking lot when Rachel's phone buzzed. Email from Derek's lawyer. The subject line read, "Final warning." The body of the email was brief. Miss Torres, any interference with my client's parental rights, including but not limited to contacting airlines, airports, or law enforcement, will result in immediate legal action. You are in violation of the custody agreement. Cease all contact immediately. Rachel showed Edward. He deleted the email from her phone. You never saw that. Let's go. They drove to Providence in Edward's car. 4:18 p.m. 2 hours and 57 minutes remaining. The storage facility was near the waterfront. Chain-link fence, security cameras, keypad entry. Edward walked up to the gate like he owned the place, typed in a code. The gate opened. How did you know the code? Rachel asked. I did not. That was the default code. 6 zeros. 80% of these places never change it. They found Unit 183, Derek's new unit. It had a heavy padlock. Edward pulled out a tool from his pocket, worked on the lock for 30 seconds. It clicked open. You are full of surprises, Rachel said. 20 years Rhode Island State Police. You learn things. He rolled up the storage unit door. Empty. Completely empty. Not a single box, not a scrap of paper. Rachel felt despair wash over her. Nothing. There is nothing here. Edward walked inside, examining the walls, ran his hands along the corners. Found something taped to the back wall, hidden behind a support beam, a manila envelope. He opened it carefully. Inside, printed email confirmations, charter flight receipt, 2 passport photos, one of Derek, one of Mia, and a name. David Morrison. Edward went pale. That is Linda Morrison's ex-husband, the one who fled to Mexico. He died last year, Rachel said slowly. I remember reading about it. Car accident in Tijuana. Derek is using a dead man's identity. A dead man who already fled the country once with his daughter. Edward photographed every document with his phone. Rachel checked the flight confirmation. Charter Aviation Services. Departure 7:15 p.m. passengers. David Morrison and Emily Morrison. Emily was Linda Morrison's daughter's name. Derek had not just bought a fake identity. He had bought the identity of someone who had already successfully disappeared with a child. A loud beep echoed through the facility. Red lights started flashing. Silent alarm, Edward said. We need to leave. Now, they ran. They made it to Edward's car before security arrived. Drove 3 blocks before pulling over. Rachel's phone buzzed. Unknown number, she answered. A man's voice, professional and clipped. Miss Torres, this is Agent Michael Reeves, FBI Providence Field Office. We received a report of a breaking and entering at Providence Self-Storage. Security footage shows your vehicle. Rachel's heart sank. I can explain. Agent Reeves continued. I'm also aware of your 911 call earlier regarding your daughter. I have been briefed on the situation. Can you help us? Rachel heard the desperation in her own voice. My ex-husband is trying to take our daughter to Panama. He has fake documents. A charter flight leaves in less than 3 hours. Miss Torres, I understand your concern. But parental kidnapping cases are complicated. Your ex-husband has legal custody rights. Unless we can prove he intends to permanently deprive you of custody and that the child is in danger, this remains a civil matter. He is using a fake identity. That is identity fraud, which is a federal crime, yes, but we would need a warrant to stop the flight. That requires evidence presented to a judge. Given that you obtained the documents through illegal entry, they may not be admissible, so you cannot help me. Agent Reeves sighed. I have 3 daughters myself. If I could help, I would, but the law is clear. File an emergency custody motion. Get a judge to issue a restraining order. That is your legal path forward. Rachel wanted to scream. I have told clients this exact same thing 100 times. I know the law. I just hoped it would be different when it was my daughter. I am sorry, truly. The call ended. 5:10 p.m. 2 hours and 5 minutes remaining. Edward was already on his phone, calling someone else. His expression darkened as he listened. He ended the call and turned to Rachel. That was the storage facility manager. They are pressing charges, trespassing and breaking and entering. We do not have time for this. I know, but there is more. Security company called Providence PD. There is a patrol car heading to your address now to take a statement. Rachel felt the walls closing in. Every minute wasted was a minute closer to losing Mia forever. Her phone rang again. This time she recognized the number. Derek's mother, Mia's grandmother, Patricia Morno. Rachel answered. Patricia, the older woman's voice was shaking. Rachel, I just heard from Derek. He told me what he is doing. I want to help you. Rachel felt a surge of hope. Do you know where he is right now? No, but I know where he might have stored some things. He asked me about a storage unit 6 months ago, right after the custody hearing. Said he needed a place to keep some belongings. What is the address? Patricia gave her an address. Ocean State Storage on Reservoir Avenue, Unit 72. That is the old unit, Edward said quietly. He closed that one 3 days ago. Rachel covered the phone. Maybe he left something behind, forgot something. They drove to Ocean State Storage, 15 minutes away. Patricia met them at the gate. She had a key. Small woman in her 60s, hands twisting nervously, eyes red from crying. I did not know he was going this far, Patricia said. I thought he was just moving to Connecticut, somewhere closer, not leaving the country. They walked to Unit 72 together. Patricia unlocked it. The unit was empty except for one cardboard box in the corner. Edward opened it carefully. Inside, old photo albums, Mia's baby clothes, some of Derek's college textbooks. Nothing useful, nothing current. Rachel felt tears building. There is nothing here. Patricia looked confused. He told me this was his storage unit. He said if anything happened, I should check here first. Edward was examining the box more carefully. Wait, look at this. He pulled out a piece of paper wedged in the bottom, a handwritten note. Mom, if you are reading this, something went wrong. Rachel found me. I am sorry I lied to you. The real unit is 183 at Providence Self-Storage. Code is Mia's birthday backwards. I love you. Derek. Rachel stared at Patricia. You knew you sent us to the wrong place on purpose. Patricia's face crumpled. He is my son. I raised him. I cannot just let you take him away. He is kidnapping my daughter. He is trying to be her father. You took that away from him with your career and your long hours and your priorities. Rachel's voice went cold. So you helped him. You wasted 30 minutes of my time. 30 minutes I needed to save my daughter. Patricia was crying now. Family comes first. I am sorry, but he is my child. Edward took Rachel's arm. We need to go. Now, they left Patricia standing in the empty storage unit. Rachel checked her phone as they ran back to the car. 5:43 p.m. 1 hour and 32 minutes remaining. She had lost 30 minutes to a grandmother who chose her son over her granddaughter's safety. Edward was already calling someone new, his voice sharp and urgent. Rachel, I have an idea. But you are not going to like it. At this point I will try anything. My old partner from state police, Mike Alvarez, he works airport security now, at Warwick Regional. Can he stop the flight? Not officially. But if we can give him the fake ID details, he can flag it in the system as suspected identity fraud. Homeland security protocols require verification before international departure. How long does verification take? Long enough to miss the flight window, maybe 30 minutes, maybe more. Rachel looked at the photos on her phone, the documents from the storage unit, the fake passport information. Do it. Send him everything. Edward started forwarding images, but there is a problem. What? If Mike flags this and it turns out to be wrong, he loses his job. He needs to be certain. Rachel pulled up the flight confirmation again. David Morrison and Emily Morrison, departing 7:15 p.m. to Panama City. It is him. I know it is him. Knowing and proving are different things. Then we make sure. We get to that airport. We find them before that flight boards. Edward checked his GPS. Warwick Regional is 30 minutes from here. Rachel looked at the clock. 5:47 p.m., 1 hour and 28 minutes remaining. Enough time to get there. But would it be enough time to stop them? Edward drove fast but not recklessly. Getting pulled over would cost them time they did not have. Rachel stared at her phone, the photos from the storage unit, the fake identity documents, the flight confirmation. She made a decision. Called Judge Morrison, the judge who had granted Derek primary custody 6 months ago, the same judge who had ruled that Rachel's 70-hour work weeks made her an unavailable parent. The phone rang 4 times before he answered. Judge Morrison speaking. Your Honor, this is Rachel Torres. I apologize for calling your personal number, but this is an emergency. Miss Torres, this is highly inappropriate. Any communication should go through proper channels. My ex-husband is attempting to flee the country with our daughter. He has fake identity documents. A charter flight leaves in 86 minutes. I need an emergency order to stop that flight. The judge was silent for a moment. Miss Torres, you are asking me to override my own custody ruling. I am asking you to prevent a federal crime, international parental kidnapping, identity fraud. He is using the name of a dead man. Do you have proof of this? Yes. I have photographs of the documents. How did you obtain these photographs? Rachel hesitated. Through a storage unit search. Did you have a warrant? No. The judge's voice hardened. So you are asking me to issue an emergency order based on illegally obtained evidence. Evidence that would be inadmissible in any court. Your Honor, please. I understand the legal complications. But my daughter is about to disappear forever. Panama has no extradition treaty. If that plane takes off, I will never see her again. Miss Torres, I sympathize with your situation, truly, but I cannot override due process. I cannot issue an order without proper documentation and legal procedure. Rachel felt something break inside her. Your Honor, I have spent 12 years telling desperate parents that the system would protect them. I have stood in courtrooms just like yours and promised mothers and fathers that if they followed the rules, justice would prevail. I was wrong. The system does not protect children. It protects procedure. The judge's tone softened slightly. I understand your frustration, but without proper evidence presented through proper channels, my hands are tied. So procedure matters more than my daughter's life. That is not what I said, but it is what you mean. Rachel ended the call. Her hands were shaking. Edward glanced over. No luck with the judge. He needs proper documentation, legal procedure, things we do not have time for. What about the FBI? Rachel called Agent Reeves back. Left a voicemail with the flight details and fake identity information. He called back 3 minutes later. Miss Torres, I am working on getting an emergency warrant, but I need at least 90 minutes, maybe more. The judge I need is in a meeting until 6:30. The flight leaves at 7:15. I know, I am doing everything I can, but the legal system moves at its own pace. Rachel ended that call too, 6:03 p.m. 1 hour and 12 minutes remaining. Edward's phone rang. He answered on speaker. Mike, talk to me. Mike Alvarez's voice came through, gruff, cautious. Edward, I got your message. You are asking me to flag a passenger based on suspected identity fraud. That is correct. David Morrison. Flying to Panama with his daughter Emily Morrison. If I flag this and it turns out to be wrong, I lose my job. Homeland Security does not take false reports lightly. It is not wrong. The real David Morrison died in a car accident in Tijuana last year. This is someone using his identity. Can you prove that? Edward looked at Rachel. She nodded. Yes, we have documentation, death certificate on file, and this passenger has the same identity. Send me everything you have. I will review it. But Edward, if this blows back on me, it won't, I promise. Edward started forwarding the photos to Mike. Rachel was already thinking ahead. Even if Mike flagged the identity, Derek might talk his way out of it, provide alternate documents, delay but not stop. She needed insurance. She opened Derek's email on her phone, used the password she had known from their marriage, his mother's maiden name plus Mia's birth year. It worked. He had never changed it. She scrolled through his recent emails, found what she was looking for. An email to Mia's school from 2 weeks ago, formal withdrawal notice, effective immediately due to family relocation. Derek had been planning this for at least 2 weeks. She found another email, to his employer. 2 weeks' notice given 3 weeks ago. Last day of work was yesterday. He had quit his job, withdrawn Mia from school, broken his lease, liquidated his accounts. This was not a temporary trip. This was a permanent disappearance. She forwarded everything to Agent Reeves. Then she did something she had not planned to do. She opened a new email addressed to Mia. Subject line, please read this before you get on the plane. She hit record on her phone's video camera. Held it at arm's length, made sure her face was clearly visible. Baby, if you are seeing this, you are at an airport with your dad. He told you that you are going on a trip. Maybe he told you it is an adventure. Maybe he told you that I agreed to this. Rachel's voice cracked. She steadied herself. I did not agree to this, sweetheart. I did not know. And if you get on that plane, I might never see you again. She wiped her eyes. Look at me, Mia. Look in my eyes. You know me. You know your life here. You have a school and friends and 2 grandmothers who love you. You have a soccer team. You have a bedroom with those glow-in-the-dark stars we put up together. You spent 3 hours making sure they matched the real constellations. Remember, Rachel was crying now but kept talking. Your dad loves you. I know he does, but love does not mean stealing, and that is what this is. He is stealing you from your life, from everyone who loves you. She took a breath. If you are scared, find a grown-up, a pilot, a security guard, anyone. Show them this video. Tell them you need help. Tell them you want your mom. Rachel ended the recording, attached it to the email, sent it to Mia's email address. The account she had set up for Mia 2 years ago for school projects. Mia checked it sometimes. Maybe she would check it now. Maybe. 6:21 p.m. 54 minutes remaining. Edward's phone rang again. Mike, I reviewed the documents. You are right. David Morrison died 14 months ago. Whoever is using his identity is committing federal identity fraud. Can you stop the flight? I can flag the passenger in the system. Homeland Security protocols require identity verification for any flagged passenger before international departure. That will trigger a mandatory hold. How long? At least 30 minutes, long enough to miss the flight window. But Edward, if this guy has backup documents or talks his way out of it, I cannot hold him indefinitely. Just give us enough time to get there. Where are you now? 15 minutes out. I will flag it now. Get here fast. 6:24 p.m., 51 minutes remaining. Rachel stared out the window as Edward drove, thought about Thomas Brennan, the man whose twin daughters had disappeared to Brazil 3 years ago. He had called her last month, asked if there were any new developments. There were not. There never were. He told her he still set 2 extra places at the table every night, for the daughters who would never come home. Rachel would not become Thomas Brennan. She would not spend the rest of her life setting an extra place for a child who was gone. She checked her email obsessively, waiting for some sign that Mia had seen her message. Nothing. Edward took the exit for Warwick Regional. 6:32 p.m., 43 minutes remaining. The airport came into view. Small building. 2 terminals, parking lot half full, charter terminal on the east side. Edward parked in a fire lane, did not care about tickets. They ran inside. Rachel scanned the terminal desperately, and then she saw them, Derek and Mia, sitting in the charter waiting area. Mia had her phone in her hands, watching something on the screen. Rachel could not see what it was from this distance, but Mia's face was changing. Confusion, then recognition, then tears. Mia looked up at Derek, showed him the phone. Rachel was too far away to hear, but she could read body language. Mia was pulling away from Derek, shaking her head. Derek was trying to calm her, hands out, explanations forming, but Mia was not listening. She was crying and looking around the terminal, looking for someone, looking for Rachel. 6:35 p.m., 40 minutes remaining. Rachel started moving toward them. Security stopped her. "Ma'am, charter terminal is for passengers only. Do you have a boarding pass? My daughter is over there with that man. He is trying to take her out of the country." The security guard looked uncertain. "Ma'am, I need to call my supervisor." Edward appeared beside Rachel. Mike Alvarez, where is he?" The guard pointed. "Security office, second door on the left." Edward ran. Rachel stayed pressed against the security barrier, watching Mia cry, watching Derek panic, watching the clock tick down. 40 minutes until the flight, 40 minutes until she lost everything, or 40 minutes until she got her daughter back. Edward burst through the security office door. Mike Alvarez stood at a computer terminal, former state police, now airport security supervisor, built like someone who still hit the gym every morning. Mike looked up. "Edward, the flag is in the system. David Morrison. Identity fraud alert. It is active. When will they get the notification?" Mike checked his screen. "Charter company should have received it 3 minutes ago. They are required to verify identity before boarding any flagged passenger." Rachel was still at the security barrier, 40 feet from Mia, 40 feet that might as well be 40 miles. The security guard was on his radio, calling for a supervisor. Rachel watched Derek trying to comfort Mia. Watched Mia shaking her head, pulling away. Derek's expression was changing, confusion turning to panic. He looked toward the terminal windows, saw Rachel. Their eyes met across the distance. For 3 seconds neither moved. Then Derek grabbed Mia's hand, started pulling her toward the gate. Rachel screamed, "Stop him. He is kidnapping my daughter." The security guard grabbed his radio. "Code 3, charter terminal. Male attempting to board with minor. Possible custodial interference." More security appeared, running from different directions. Edward emerged from the office with Mike, both moving fast. A woman in a charter company uniform approached Derek. "Sir, I need to speak with you for a moment." Derek kept moving. "We are going to miss our flight." The woman stepped in front of him. "Sir, there is an issue with your identification. I need you to step aside while we verify your documents." Derek's face went pale. "There must be some mistake. My documents are in order." The charter agent's voice was professionally firm. "Sir, your identification has been flagged by Homeland Security as potentially fraudulent. We cannot allow boarding until this is resolved." Mia was sobbing now, pulling against Derek's grip. "Dad, let me go. I want my mom." "You lied to me." Derek looked down at his daughter. "Sweetheart, please, Mom is confused. We talked about this. You said Mom agreed. You said she wanted me to go, but the video, she did not know. You lied." The charter agent gestured to two security officers. They moved closer. Derek's options were disappearing. He saw Edward and Mike approaching from one side, more security from the other. Rachel pressed against the barrier behind him. He was surrounded. The security guard at the barrier finally lifted the rope, let Rachel through. She ran. Mia saw her, screamed. "Mom," broke free from Derek's grip and ran toward Rachel. They collided in the middle of the terminal. Rachel dropped to her knees, wrapped her arms around her daughter. Mia was crying so hard she could barely breathe. "He said you agreed. He said you wanted me to go. He said we were going on an adventure and you would come later." Rachel held her tighter. "I would never agree to that. Never. I have been looking for you for 5 hours. I have been terrified." Derek stood frozen, watching his plan collapse. Mike approached him. "Sir, I need to see your identification." Derek pulled out a passport, handed it over. Mike examined it. "This says your name is David Morrison. Is that correct?" Derek said nothing. "David Morrison died in a car accident in Tijuana 14 months ago." Mike's voice was flat, professional, "So I will ask again. What is your real name?" Derek's shoulders sagged. "Derek Morno." "And the child?" "My daughter, Mia Morno." Mike nodded to the security officers. "Detain him. Federal agents are en route." Derek did not resist as they took his arms. He was staring at Mia. "Sweetheart, I am sorry. I just wanted us to be together. I wanted to be your dad." Mia buried her face in Rachel's shoulder, did not look at him. The security officers walked Derek toward the security office. 6:52 p.m. 23 minutes before the flight was scheduled to depart. The charter agent approached Rachel. "Ma'am, are you all right? Does your daughter need medical attention?" Rachel looked up, her face streaked with tears. "We are okay. We just need a minute." The agent nodded. "Airport police are on their way. They will need statements from both of you." Rachel did not care about statements, did not care about procedures. She had her daughter back. Edward knelt beside them. "Rachel, you did it. You got her." Rachel could not speak, could only hold Mia. Mike stood a few feet away, on his radio, coordinating with the responding officers. The terminal had gone quiet, other passengers watching, some filming on their phones. Rachel did not care about that either. 6:55 p.m., 20 minutes remaining. Airport police arrived. 2 officers asked Rachel and Mia to come with them to give statements. They walked to a private office. Edward followed. Derek was in a different room, visible through a window, sitting with his head in his hands. Federal agents arrived at 7:03 p.m. Agent Reeves, the FBI agent Rachel had spoken to earlier. He looked exhausted. "Miss Torres, I am glad we got here in time." "You did not get here in time." Rachel's voice was raw. "I got here in time. You were still waiting for a warrant." Agent Reeves did not argue. "You are right. I apologize, but we are here now, and we will be charging Mr. Morno with attempted international parental kidnapping under 18 U.S.C. Section 1204. Also identity fraud, conspiracy to defraud." "What does that mean?" "How long?" 8 years maximum, probably less with a plea deal, but he will lose custody rights, that I can guarantee." Rachel nodded numbly. Mia was sitting in her lap, had not let go of Rachel's hand. Agent Reeves continued. "The identity facilitator, Victor Reyes. We have been building a case against him for 2 years. Your evidence today, the documents from the storage unit. That might be enough to finally bring charges." Rachel did not care about Victor Reyes, did not care about cases or charges or evidence. She cared about the 9-year-old girl in her arms who had almost disappeared forever. Through the window she watched the charter plane taxi to the runway. 7:14 p.m., 1 minute before scheduled departure. The plane turned, accelerated, lifted off. 2 empty seats where Derek and Mia were supposed to be. Rachel watched it climb into the evening sky, watched it bank south, toward Panama, toward a country where people disappeared and were never found. The plane that would have taken her daughter away forever. Edward sat down beside her. "You beat the clock." Rachel shook her head. "Barely. If Mike had not flagged the identity, if Mia had not checked her email, if Derek had chosen a different airport or a different time, but he did not, and you were ready." 7:15 p.m. The deadline passed. Mia lifted her head from Rachel's shoulder. "Mom, I am sorry. I should have known something was wrong. Baby, you have nothing to be sorry for. Nothing. This was not your fault." Grandma Patricia helped him. She told him things about you, about your schedule. "I heard them talking on the phone last week." Rachel closed her eyes. "I know. Are you mad at me for almost getting on the plane?" Rachel pulled her daughter closer. "I am not mad at you. I could never be mad at you. You are 9 years old. You trusted your father. That is what you are supposed to do, but I should have known. No, he should have been trustworthy. That is not on you. That is on him." An officer approached. "Miss Torres, we have a few more questions. It should not take long." Rachel stood, still holding Mia's hand. "What happens now?" "You and your daughter can go home tonight. Mr. Morneau will be processed and held pending arraignment. Child Protective Services will be notified. But given the circumstances, you will retain custody." "For how long?" "Permanently." The officer's voice was gentle. "He tried to kidnap your daughter using a fake identity. No judge in the country would grant him custody rights after this." Rachel felt the weight of 5 hours lift slightly. Not entirely. The fear was still there, the panic still echoed, but Mia was safe. Mia was here. The plane to Panama was already a dot on the horizon, empty. Because sometimes you beat the clock, sometimes you save the person you love, sometimes barely is enough. 7:22 p.m. 7 minutes past the deadline, but they were on the right side of it, together. And that was all that mattered. 8 months later, Rachel sat in a federal courtroom watching Derek plead guilty. The charges were read aloud. Attempted international parental kidnapping under 18 U.S.C. Section 1204, identity fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud. Derek wore an orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed in front of him. He looked smaller than Rachel remembered, thinner, defeated. The judge asked if he understood the charges. Derek said yes. Asked if he was pleading guilty of his own free will. Derek said yes. The prosecutor outlined the plea agreement. 4 years in federal prison, reduced from 8 years for cooperation and no prior criminal record, complete loss of custody rights, supervised visitation only after release, pending psychological evaluation. The judge asked Derek if he had anything to say. Derek looked at Rachel for the first time. "I am sorry. I thought I was protecting my daughter. I was wrong." The judge sentenced him to 4 years. Recommended psychiatric counseling during incarceration. Court adjourned. Rachel walked out into the bright afternoon sun. Mia was not there. Rachel had decided she did not need to see her father sentenced. Some things children should not have to witness. Edward waited by his car. "How are you holding up?" Rachel shrugged. "I won, but it does not feel like winning, because it is not. It is just damage control." They drove back to Rachel's office. She had reduced her hours to 40 per week, had taken 3 months of leave immediately after the airport incident. Her law practice had changed too. She no longer took standard custody cases. Now she specialized exclusively in international parental kidnapping prevention. Her phone rang constantly. Parents who had received threatening texts. Parents whose exes had applied for passports. Parents who recognized the warning signs. She had helped 6 families in 8 months. 3 cases she had stopped before flights departed, worked with airport security, filed emergency orders, got injunctions. 2 cases she was too late. Children now in Argentina and Thailand. She was helping those parents navigate international custody law, Hague Convention procedures, State Department interventions. 1 case had been a false alarm. The parent was not fleeing, just taking their child to visit grandparents overseas. Rachel had apologized, paid for the family's legal fees out of her own pocket, better safe than traumatized. Her office walls now displayed news clippings, articles about parental abduction, statistics, warning signs. 500 children were internationally abducted by parents each year in the United States alone. Most were never recovered. Rachel had testified before the Rhode Island State Legislature 3 times, proposed new laws, stricter passport controls, mandatory notification before international travel with minors. 1 bill had passed, 2 were still in committee. The local news had covered her testimony, called it the 5-hour war, the mother who raced against time to save her daughter. Rachel hated the nickname. It made her sound heroic. She did not feel heroic. She felt lucky. Lucky that Edward had the right connections. Lucky that Mike Alvarez was willing to flag the identity. Lucky that Mia had checked her email. Luck was not a system. Luck was not protection. Edward had paid a price too. Lost his investigator license for 6 months. The illegal storage unit break-in had consequences. He did not regret it. Told Rachel that some rules existed to protect procedures. Some kids needed protection more than procedures needed respect. His license was reinstated last month. He was working again, but he was different now, more cautious, more aware of how fragile everything was. Victor Reyes had been arrested 3 weeks after Derek's flight attempt, charged with 43 counts of identity fraud. His client list had revealed a network, parents buying fake documents, planning flights, coordinating disappearances. The FBI had opened 23 active investigations based on that list. Some children were recovered, some were not. Rachel tried not to think about the ones who were not. Mia was in therapy twice a week. Dr. Jones was patient and skilled, specialized in childhood trauma. Mia had been diagnosed with anxiety disorder, had nightmares about airports, panic attacks in crowded places. She was getting better, slowly. Some days were good, some days were not. She asked about Derek sometimes, wondered if he was okay, wondered if he thought about her. Rachel answered honestly, "Your father loves you. He made terrible choices because of that love, but love does not excuse what he did." Mia struggled with the complexity. She was 9 years old, now almost 10. Too young to understand how someone could love you and hurt you simultaneously. Derek's mother Patricia still came to visit, every other Sunday, supervised visits at Rachel's house. She brought gifts Mia rarely touched, apologized constantly, said she had not known Derek would go that far. Rachel did not believe her, but Mia needed her grandmother, so Rachel allowed the visits. Patricia looked older now. Guilt aged people. Thomas Brennan had called Rachel last week, the man whose twin daughters had disappeared to Brazil 4 years ago. He had seen Rachel's testimony on the news, wanted to thank her for speaking out. His daughters would be 11 now. He still had not found them, but he appreciated that someone was trying to change the system. Rachel had cried after that call, alone in her office, door closed, because she had saved Mia, but she had not saved Thomas's daughters, or Linda Morrison's son, or David Jones's daughter, or the 43 other children on Victor Reyes's client list. She could not save them all, could barely save one, but she would keep trying. Last month a woman named Jennifer Park had called. Her ex-husband had bought plane tickets to South Korea, had withdrawn $30,000 in cash, had asked about their daughter's passport. Rachel had recognized the pattern immediately. She had helped Jennifer file an emergency custody motion, got the ex-husband's passport flagged, contacted airport security at 3 possible departure points. The ex-husband had canceled his trip, agreed to mediation, no flight, no 5-hour race. Jennifer had sent Rachel flowers, a card that said, "You saved my daughter's life." Rachel kept the card on her desk because sometimes the system worked. Sometimes you stopped the clock before it started. Sometimes you saved a child from ever knowing what it felt like to watch their parents steal them away. Those were the victories that mattered, small, quiet, one family at a time. Rachel checked her watch, 3:45 p.m. Time to pick up Mia from school. She grabbed her keys, locked her office, drove the familiar route, arrived 10 minutes early, waited in the parking lot with the other parents, watched the doors, waiting for Mia to emerge. The way she had waited in that airport terminal 8 months ago, watching, praying, racing the clock, but this time she was early. This time there was no deadline, no panic, no fear, just a mother picking up her daughter from school. Normal, safe. Together the doors opened. Children poured out. Mia saw Rachel's car, smiled, ran over, climbed into the passenger seat. "How was school?" "Good. We had a math test. I think I did okay." Rachel smiled. "I am proud of you." They drove home. Talked about homework, about dinner plans, about the weekend. Ordinary conversation. Ordinary day. The kind of day Rachel would never take for granted again, because she knew how quickly ordinary could disappear. How fast 5 hours could steal everything. But today there were no deadlines, no countdowns, no desperate races. Today they were just a mother and daughter going home, and that was enough. 2 years later. Rachel sat at her Kit Jones table, morning coffee cooling in her cup. A letter lay in front of her, unopened, Derek's handwriting on the envelope, his first communication in 2 years. She had been staring at it for 20 minutes. Finally, she opened it. The handwriting was careful, deliberate, like he had rewritten it multiple times. Rachel, I do not expect forgiveness. I do not deserve it, but I need you to know I never wanted to hurt Mia. I wanted to protect her from what I thought was a broken system. I became the thing I was afraid of, someone who hurt her in the name of love. I am glad you stopped me. I would have ruined her life. Thank you for being strong enough to save her from me. Rachel folded the letter, put it back in the envelope, did not know what to feel. Her phone buzzed, text from Mia. At Sarah's house, be home by 6. Mia was 11 now, 6th grade. Had friends again, smiled more often, still in therapy, still had bad days, but more good days than bad. Another text arrived, from Mia's Aunt Sarah, Rachel's sister in California. Flight lands at 8 tonight. Can't wait to see you both. Rachel typed back, we will pick you up, then hesitated. Mia, do you want to come to the airport with me tonight? We need to pick up Aunt Sarah. The 3 dots appeared, disappeared. Appeared again. Finally, is it okay if I am nervous? Rachel replied, of course it is okay. We can be nervous together. Mia, okay, I will come. Rachel set down her phone, thought about the past 2 years, the therapy sessions, the court dates, the nightmares, the slow healing, thought about the 43 children on Victor Reyes's client list, some found, some still missing, thought about Thomas Brennan's daughters, somewhere in Brazil, 11 years old now. Did they remember their father? Did they know he was still searching? Thought about the 6 families she had helped, the ones she had saved before the clock started ticking. That evening she and Mia drove to the airport, T.F. Green International, bigger than Warwick Regional. Busier, brighter. Mia's hand tightened on Rachel's as they entered. It is okay, Rachel said quietly. I am right here. They found seats near the arrival gate, waited. Rachel checked the time, 7:43 p.m. In another timeline, another world, this would be close to the moment she lost everything. 7:15 p.m. the flight to Panama, the deadline. But in this timeline, Mia sat beside her, safe, present, here. Mia noticed Rachel checking her phone. Mom, you are doing it again. What? Checking the time every few minutes. Mia's therapist had mentioned it, Rachel's compulsive time checking, a trauma response. Her brain still racing against invisible deadlines. Sorry, baby, habit. Mia leaned her head on Rachel's shoulder. It is okay. My therapist says you might always do that. She is probably right. They watched planes land through the windows. Watched passengers reunite with families. Mia spoke quietly. Mom, do you think about that day a lot? Every day. Do you think about what would have happened if you did not find me? Rachel was silent for a moment. Yes. But I try not to because I did find you. We are here together. Mia nodded. My therapist says I should focus on what happened, not what could have happened. Your therapist is smart. Do you still help other families, the ones like us? I do. How many have you saved? 14 in 2 years. 14 children who did not get on planes. That is good. It is something. Aunt Sarah's plane landed. They watched passengers stream through the gate. Sarah appeared, waved, rushed over, hugged them both. As they walked toward baggage claim, Rachel checked her phone one more time. 8:17 p.m. No deadline, no countdown, no race against time, just a family together in an airport, walking slowly. No panic, no fear. But Rachel's hand still gripped Mia's tightly, and she still counted the minutes in her head, still felt the phantom pressure of a clock that had stopped ticking 2 years ago. Some wounds heal, some scars fade, but some fears become permanent, woven into who you are. Rachel would always check the time, would always count the hours, would always remember what 5 hours felt like when everything you love is slipping away. That was the cost of beating the deadline. You save the person you love, but you never stop hearing the clock, tick, tick, tick. They walked out into the night, 3 generations, together, safe, and Rachel checked the time one more time. 8:24 p.m. Another minute survived. Another hour lived. Another day where Mia was home and safe in hers. That was enough. That would always be enough. But the clock kept ticking anyway. It always would.